The night sky over the Hindu Kush was a black void pierced only by the faint glow of a crescent moon, and deep in a ravine that no map dared name, 8 Navy SEALs clung to the edge of survival. Their mission had been simple on paper: insert, observe, exfiltrate, but the Taliban had other plans. Ambushed at dusk, outnumbered 20-1, they'd fought their way down a goat trail slick with blood and shale, radios crackling with static, every burst of gunfire echoing like a death knell. Now, pinned behind a boulder the size of a pickup truck, their team leader, Lieutenant Commander Jack Reaper Harlan, pressed a gloved hand to the sucking chest wound of his youngest operator, a 23-year-old kid from Ohio who was trying not to cry. The rest of the team formed a ragged perimeter, magazines nearly empty, the air thick with cordite and the copper tang of blood. Jack keyed the mic on his throat for the 10th time. Any station, this is Reaper 6. Troops in contact, grid 3967-4, request immediate extraction, over, nothing, just the howl of wind through the rocks, and the distant bark of an AK. Jack looked at the kid Petty Officer Ryan Caldwell and saw the light fading in his eyes. "Stay with me, Rye," he whispered. "Help's coming." But they both knew the truth. They'd been written off. If you're hearing this, hit that subscribe button right now, because this is the story of the night. The dead came back to save the living. The ambush had started at 1900 hours, right as the team crested a ridge they'd nicknamed Widowmaker. Jack had smelled it first: goat shit and gun oil, the unmistakable perfume of a trap. He'd signaled freeze, but the point man, Chief Petty Officer Marcus Iron Washington, had already stepped on the pressure plate. The explosion flipped the world upside down, shrapnel shredding the silence. Marcus took the brunt, his left leg open from knee to hip, but he was still firing, dragging himself behind cover, with one arm, while the other squeezed off rounds from his M4. The rest of the team reacted like the machine they were: suppressive fire, bounding overwatch, grenades arsing through the dusk like comets. They dropped 12 insurgents in the first 30 seconds, but the ridge was crawling with more. Jack counted at least 40 muzzle flashes stitching the darkness. Their drone operator, Petty Officer Lena Torres, had managed to get their Raven aloft before the shooting started, but a lucky RPG round turned it into confetti. Comms were down, sat phone shattered, and the exfil bird, a Black Hawk call sign Viper 2. 2 was already 30 mics out and climbing, assuming the team was still on schedule. They weren't. By the time the sun bled out behind the mountains, the SEALs had burned through half their ammo and all their illusions. They were alone. Jack made the call to break contact and head for the ravine, a suicide move, but the only one that bought them time. They leopard crawled through thorn scrub and loose scree. The wounded dragged between them like sacks of grain. Ryan had taken a round through the meat of his thigh early on, but he'd kept moving until a second bullet punched through his plate carrier and into his lung. Now he was fading fast, his breath bubbling pink. The team's medic, hospital corpsman, First Class Diego Doc Ramirez, had stuffed the wound with quick clot and cinched a tourniquet so tight Ryan's foot had gone purple, but the kid was drowning in his own blood. Jack looked at the faces around him. Marcus, jaw clenched against the pain in his leg. Lena, eyes wide but steady, reloading with mechanical precision. The breacher, Petty Officer First Class Kyle Boomer O'Connell, humming AC/DC under his breath, like this was just another Tuesday. The sniper, Petty Officer Second Class Ethan Park, glassing the ridge with a thermal scope that still worked, and the 2 assault men, Petty Officer Second Class Jamal Carter and Petty Officer Third Class Tyler Brooks, twins in everything but blood, sharing a single mag between them. 8 souls against a small army. Jack keyed the mic one last time, voice hoarse. Viper 222, Reaper 6. We are combat ineffective. Repeat, combat ineffective. Need dust off now. Over. Static. Then, impossibly, a voice crackled through the ether, calm as Sunday morning. Reaper 6, this is Ghost 19er. Inbound hot. Eater 7 mics. Hold what you got. Jack blinked. Ghost 19er? That call sign didn't exist. Not in their net, not in any net. But the voice was American, and it was coming. Up on the ridge, the Taliban commander, a wiry bastard with a beard down to his belt and a Soviet radio on his hip, was screaming into his own handset. demanding the Americans be finished before moonset. His men fanned out, RPGs shouldered, PKM machine guns chattering. Tracers stitched red lines across the ravine, sparking off rocks inches from the SEALs' heads. Ethan squeezed off a shot with his MK, 12-700 meters, slight, crosswind, and dropped the machine gunner like a sack of rice. The return fire intensified. Boomer lobbed his last frag, buying them 30 seconds. Lena was on her knees, beside Ryan, holding his hand, whispering the Lord's Prayer in Spanish. Jack felt the weight of command settle on him like a shroud. They were done. Then the sky split open. It wasn't a Black Hawk. It was a Spectre, an MH-6 Little Bird, matte black, no markings, running dark with only the faintest whisper of rotors. It came in low and fast, skids kissing the ridgeline as the door gunner, a silhouette in NVGs and a flight helmet, opened up with a minigun that sounded like God's own chainsaw. Brass rained down like golden hail. Taliban fighters folded and fell, the ridge suddenly a slaughter pen. The Little Bird banked hard, flared, and settled into a hover 20 feet above the ravine. Downdraft whipping dust into a cyclone. A rope dropped. Reaper 6, this is Ghost, climb or die, your choice. The pilot barked. Jack didn't hesitate. He and Jamal hoisted Ryan first, Doc climbing behind to keep pressure on the wound. Marcus refused help, Monkey climbing the rope with one leg useless. One by one, they ascended into the belly of the beast, the minigun never stopping, the pilot dancing the Little Bird like a dragonfly on meth. When the last man, Ethan, was aboard, the bird nosed over and screamed into the night, leaving the ridge burning behind them. Inside the cockpit, the pilot never looked back. He flew nap of the earth, skimming ridgelines, diving into valleys, the Little Bird skids brushing treetops. Jack leaned forward, shouting over the roar. "Who the hell are you? Ghost 19er isn't on any roster." The pilot's voice came back flat, almost amused. "Tonight it is, Commander. Strap in. We've got unfriendlies on our 6. Sure enough, tracer rounds stitched the sky behind them, 2 Mi-17s, Taliban air wing, trying to run them down. The Little Bird jinked left, then right, the pilot pulling GS that should have blacked them out. Jack caught a glimpse of the HUD call sign Ghost. No squadron, no tail number. The door gunner reloaded like he'd done it in his sleep, then leaned out and hosed the lead hip with the minigun. The Mi-17 blossomed into a fireball, cartwheeling into a mountainside. The second broke off, running for home. The Little Bird flew on. They landed 40 minutes later on a dirt strip carved out of nowhere, ringed by poppy fields and guarded by men in civilian clothes carrying M4S with suppressors. A medevac Huey waited, engines spooling. Ryan was whisked away on a stretcher, Doc riding shotgun, barking orders at the flight nurse. The rest of the team staggered out, legs like jelly, staring at the Little Bird as it lifted off without a word. Jack shouted after it, "Hey, at least tell me your name." The pilot's voice crackled one last time over the team freck. "Call me Spectre. And Commander, you owe me a beer." Then he was gone, swallowed by the dark. Back at Bagram, the debrief was a circus. The brass wanted answers. Where'd the bird come from? Who authorized the op? Why no flight plan? Jack's team stuck to the script. Unknown friendly aircraft. Call sign Ghost. Saved their S's. The intel pukes ran the tape from Ethan's helmet cam. Zoomed in on the Little Bird's fuselage. Nothing. No numbers, no insignia, not even a scratch. The pilot's voice was run through every database negative match. Ryan made it, barely. The surgeons at Landstuhl pulled 2 fragments from his lung and rebuilt his femur with titanium. Marcus got a Purple Heart and a prosthetic that let him run sub-6-minute miles. The team rotated home, told their families they'd tripped on some rocks. But Jack couldn't let it go. He filed FOIAs, called in favors, even tracked down the medevac crew. Zip. Ghost 19er was a ghost. Years passed. Jack left the teams, started a security firm in Virginia, trained cops and contractors, tried to forget the Hindu Kush. Then one night in 2018, his phone buzzed with a number he didn't recognize. He answered. "Reaper, you still owe me that beer." The voice was older, rougher, but unmistakable. Jack's heart jackhammered. "Spectre?" A chuckle. "Meet me at the Ugly Mug in D.C. tomorrow, 2200. Come alone." Jack was there at 2130, nursing a club soda, eyes scanning every face. At 2158, A man slid into the booth opposite him, mid-50s, salt and pepper beard, eyes like chipped flint, wearing a faded Grateful Dead tee and a leather jacket that had seen better decades. He stuck out a hand. Chief Warrant Officer 5 Daniel Danny McAllister, U.S. Army, retired, or so they tell me. Over the next 3 hours and 4 beers, Danny laid it out. He'd been a night stalker, 160th SAW, one of the best stick jockeys in the regiment. In 2009, he'd flown a covert insertion into the same valley, ferrying a CIA team hunting a high-value target. The OP went sideways, betrayed by a local asset. The team wiped out, Danny's bird shot down. He'd crawled from the wreckage with a broken back and third-degree burns, evaded for 9 days, living on snow and rage. Captured on day 10, he'd spent 18 months in a hole so dark he forgot the sun existed. The Taliban used him for propaganda, then for target practice. On the night, they planned to behead him on camera. A Spetsnaz team, Russian special forces, on some deniable op hit the compound. In the chaos, Danny escaped, stole a motorbike, and rode south until he collapsed at a Marine outpost. The official story, Kia, body unrecoverable. The unofficial story, Danny McAllister was too valuable to let die. Recruited by a black program so deep it didn't have a name, he flew. Ghosts, aircraft that didn't exist. Missions that never happened. The little bird in the Hindu Kush, a prototype stealth variant, one of 3, crewed by men who'd already been declared dead. Jack sat back stunned. Why us? Danny shrugged. Your Mayday hit a freck we monitored. I was in the neighborhood testing a new bird. Figured I'd return a favor the universe owed me. He drained his beer. Also, your kid Ryan, he wrote me a letter from the hospital, thanked me for saving his life. Told me he was going to name his firstborn after me. Daniel Ryan Caldwell, born last year. Jack felt his throat close. Danny stood, dropped a 20 on the table. Debts paid, Reaper. Live well, he walked out into the DC night and vanished, just like before. Jack never saw him again, but every year on the anniversary of the ambush, a plain envelope arrives at his office, no return address, just a single Polaroid, the Hindu Kush at dawn, the ravine barely visible, and in the corner, scrawled in Sharpie, still flying. Jack keeps them in a lockbox with Ryan's letter and the fragment of shrapnel dock pulled from Marcus's leg. The team still gets together. Ryan coaches Little League now. Marcus runs marathons for wounded vets. Lena's a drone instructor at Dam Neck. The twins own a brewery in San Diego. They don't talk about the ghost much. Some things are bigger than words, but when the news breaks about another team in contact, another Mayday echoing into the void, they look at each other and know. Somewhere up there, in a blacked-out little bird with no name, Danny McAllister is still answering the call. And that's the story of the night 8 SEALs were left for dead until a ghost pilot heard their final transmission and rewrote the ending. If this moved you, drop a like, share it with a brother or sister in arms, and tell me in the comments from which part of the country are you watching this video?